Okay. So your name's Cherry?
Cherry Lynn Ayers.
Cherry Lynn Ayers. How old are you?
39. I think I actually am 38, and I know it's terrible that I don't remember that, but it's just like I've always, you know what I mean, just looked at another birthday like, okay, I'm getting older, and I kind of stopped counting, so.
Yeah, you have to go backwards after a certain age. 35,
So I think
between
between 38 and 39, I swear to God I should
somewhere
know.
around there. How long have you been homeless?
Now I've been homeless in Hesperia for about 5 years. I came out here in 2015
From where?
from Ontario, California.
Oh, okay. Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, Ontario, Rancho, and the whole flatlands of the Inland Empire, pretty much.
How was your childhood?
My childhood was kind of a mixed experience between my mom and my dad. My dad gave me pretty much the better life, you know, that my mom, I wasn't born into that with my mom. My mom was a dope addict, and I really clearly remember living with my mom and my grandma when I was a little girl before I got taken away from my mom. I lived in a dope house. I woke up every morning and I seen people on the floor, you know what I mean, different people in my house. Never seen them use drugs like directly though.
In front of you?
In front of me, but the situation around me, I can, now that I'm older, I recall, is just identical to everything I see now, you know what I mean? Like, and the way I felt about it then was kind of the way I feel about it now, you know, even though I'm an addict myself now, I've always had a resentment. You know, I used to tell my little brother, if anybody that's not mom tells you anything, you tell them you don't tell me, you know what I mean? Because I don't like people telling us what to do. That wasn't my mom. And we always had different people trying to tell us, get out of here, get in here, you know what I mean? And we were like, who are you? You know what I mean? Like, you're not her parent, you know? And so I used to get sassy with them and, you know, tell them, you don't tell me, you know? And my grandma was the one that watched us most of the time, in which my grandma loved us to death, but she wasn't very good at paying attention, you know what I mean? She was the enabler, she was enabling the environment. I always liked to help people out, met people, different people in my house. I remember we had a lot of cockroaches in our house.
Cockroaches?
Cockroaches. I mean, I was raised with cockroaches practically. And yeah, cockroaches is like second nature to me. And I, you know, I know it sounds really bad, but they're gross, but they don't bother me as much as they may bother some people because I'm used to that, you know. My grandma, when I was real little, she used to take us up to the Jack's Market down the hill and get food from the back of the grocery store because they would throw it out a certain time of the week, and she'd be up there every morning to get it when they threw it out, just when they could throw it out, so we could get it when it was fresh. And yeah, so, you know, I was pretty much raised on pretty much everything that we do now, you know, in the, you know, the environments that we kind of linger in now. So everything I was kind of raised, you know, born knowing.
Okay, so going back to like your childhood, you were saying, was there any like abusive anything happening? Or
I ended up getting taken away from my mom because, you know, it wasn't real severe, but my uncle had attempted to touch me pretty much. It's kind of odd though because he was my favorite uncle. And I think now looking back, I think these were things that were happening with him, going through changes and stuff in his addiction. And I remember my uncle was my favorite. I mean, he used to drive a Camaro. He had a dog named Butch, and you know what I mean? He was super cool, you know? And I remember one year he just came to my grandma's, and he ended up staying there, and he was sleeping on the bedroom floor of my grandma's room, where I slept with my grandma. And it was kind of weird because, like, you know, I was not that anything had happened to me prior to this, but I was already aware of my sexuality at that age. And I was always trying to get the other kids to make out with me and stuff, you know, it's just how I was. And, you know, because nobody's watching us, you know what I mean? So nobody knew, you know, the adults didn't know what exactly the kids were getting into when they weren't paying attention, you know what I mean? Like, I was finding nudie magazines and stuff, and I'd go show my friends, oh, look at this, you know what I mean? Like, look what I found, you know, and
with stuff like that, you kind of get an awakening before you
before I was, you know, supposed to, really. And so, but it was kind of strange because, like, I thought, you know, my uncle used to, like, lift up the covers. I used to sleep naked. And because I was a little kid, my grandma didn't think anything of it, you know. But when my grandma would get up in the morning, me and my uncle would be alone in the room. And he'd be sleeping on the floor. But I would be on the bed. And this went on for like a week prior to anything him actually physically contacting me, you know. And in the beginning, I thought it was cute, you know what I mean? Like, I was laughing and stuff. He used to lift up the covers, and I would roll around underneath the covers and over my legs, right? And then I'd giggle, and then I'd close my legs and roll over again, you know what I mean? And then one morning, I got up out of the bed after that, and my uncle, like, put his foot between my legs. I had the sheet around me, and he put his foot, I was 6 years old, put his foot between my legs and wiggled his toe. I was like, you better hurry up and get ready for school, he tells me. Now, for some weird reason, I was angry. I don't know why, but this made me suddenly angry. You know, after thinking it was cute, you know what I mean? Like, the actual cognitive reality of being touched, I think it bothered me, you know what I mean? And I went to school. I had no intentions of telling. I didn't think I was, but I was just hindering this odd feeling, you know, I didn't like it. I was very angry and I had a bad attitude, and I always had a school counselor. For some reason, I was always getting pulled in the office and being talked to about how my day was going, and I didn't understand why. You know what I mean? But obviously, because of my behavioral problems or whatever, I did make good grades as an adolescent, which is very odd because most kids kind of just follow along with whatever is being given to them. You know what I mean? Me, didn't do any class assignments. You know what I mean? They already expected that of me, and but I got pulled into because of my attitude, and they pulled me into the office that day. And the counselor, I was coloring inside the little rec room, and she kept asking me questions, you know, like, Cherry, you sure there's anything you want to talk about? And I'm like, no. At first I told her no, you know. And then the last time she'd asked me, I started to tell her what happened, you know what I mean? I told her, I said, my uncle put his toe between my legs, you know what I mean? And that's when everything changed from that day. I got taken away from my mom. They didn't send me back home that day. I stayed at school until the CPS people came and picked me up and took me to foster care for the week. So from that day forward, I stayed in the foster care for like a week, and my dad ended up getting custody of me. My dad came pick me up. My mom thought at first I did it on purpose because I always wanted to be with my dad. My dad was a rock star. He was in a band when I was a little girl. My mom refused to let him see me. And I always wanted to see my dad. I always loved my dad, like, more than my mom at the time, you know what I mean? And so when my dad got me, at first my mom thought I did it on purpose, like I said, and then when my dad got me, my dad was the one that kind of gave me a life completely different than the one I had known, and it took him a while to break me of the behaviors that I already had, you know, and I think I was about 15 after, you know, my dad tried to keep me in school, and I never made good grades then either. My dad was real lenient towards a lot of those things, you know what I mean? He was real cool because he was like a rock star, you know what I mean? And you know, my dad ended up owning his own business after I got a little older. My dad got married and stuff. At first he was like living the rock star dream and single and different. I had different, you know, different women in my life, like men, you know, girls have usually different women in their life, or different men coming into their life with their moms, but it was like that, but with my dad. And so I had a series of stepmothers. And finally my dad settled down and got married, and her and I didn't get along too good in the beginning because she was really jealous, and she was mean to my brother, my little brother, my dad's junior. And he was like sacred to me, my little brother Teddy, you know, and I really resented her for the way she treated him. And so I left home at 15 because my dad wouldn't do anything about it, you know. And that's like when I started using dope and everything, and I ran back away to my mom's house, you know, because I knew that place and I knew that I could do what I wanted there, and I refused to come back home. And finally my dad just let me go and let me run my course, you know, and ever since then I've been pretty much back and forth on the drugs.
What was your drug of choice?
Methamphetamine. Yeah.
Would you say that was what led you to being homeless, or was it other circumstances?
I would have to say it was a combination. Not one or the other could have landed, I don't think, anybody homeless, honestly, without it being, you know, in between a rock and a hard place kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, you know, the rock and the hard place is what got me where I'm at, you know. But, yeah, I had gotten clean when I was 19. I was 19 years old. I was getting clean for the first time. You know what I mean? It was just odd. You know, people are barely doing drugs for the first time at 19. And I stayed clean for 4 years. I ended up with a guy that was 22 years older than me, and he's the one that got me off the streets and off the dope, and pretty much got my first career with him. And because I was doing drugs at such a young age, I was used to being with older men, you know what I mean? And so it was natural for me to feel comfortable and fit into that, and which was a good thing for me, in my case, because in my case that gave me something that I would not have had without that, you know what I mean? My dad kind of just let me go because didn't want to come home, and so I didn't have the things I should have had, as a young woman, I guess. But I've been in and out of recovery too for the last 16 years, or last, years since I've been in sobriety for the first time. I've actually been back and forth to the program, and I don't know, this last time is kind of what led me to where I'm at right now, because I've had, 4 years clean, 2 years clean, 3 years clean, and then, another 4 years clean, you know what I mean? I relapse, every other couple of years. This last time I got out of jail, which is about 2 years ago, I tried to stay clean because I wanted to stay clean. It was over those kittens I had, that really upset me in that environment that I was in, that kind of hit me, that I needed to realize what was going on, and a lot of it had to do with the dope, you know what I mean? The people in those situations in those houses, the animals couldn't even survive that, so of course kids couldn't survive that, but because of what happened to those cats, dude, I was like traumatized, you know what I mean? And I've had this like extreme bond with these cats that made me make a self change, you know what I mean, with myself and what I was doing, because I loved them, and I didn't want, you know what I mean, to let them go into whatever, you know what I mean? I wanted to be able to be there and pick them up from the shelter and everything like that when I got out of jail. And the shelter wouldn't let me. I was so angry with Hesperion's animal shelter too, because they were just not being right about the situation either, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't care about how much those kittens meant to me, and they put them down, and they shouldn't have put them down. They just seemed almost wicked. But at that point, dude, I was ready to fucking get them completely fucking taken out of business, because they had no point in even being there. Like, what is your guys' purpose here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys have no purpose here. You guys are doing nothing but injustice to people who care about these animals and to these animals themselves. These are living things. I see all kinds of different types of abuse based. I mean, not as much physical abuse, but it depends on what situation a homeless girl or whoever gets themselves into, what kind of link or what kind of people they get themselves linked with to receive help. And all of this ventures from being in need in the first place. You know what I mean? Whether it's just being in need or being a drug addict and being in need of, some place to go or something, to benefit from or profit out of. Manipulation, there's a lot of manipulation involved in where we're getting help from, because we're not really being helped, by the peers. But we're talking about regular people here that either also have a dope problem, that are trying to help or offer us things. But really, there's ulterior motives behind, their intentions. A homeless girl, you know what I mean? These guys want to help us, but they really don't want to help us. They want to just sleep with us, you know what I mean? And usually when we don't want to reciprocate that, they kick us out or stop helping us. Or I was living at a place this one time, and there was a guy that liked me a lot. And he, for some reason, I was not his girlfriend. I was not, a significant other of any sort to him. But he had feelings for me, and the way that he behaved about those feelings, of course, because the situation that we're in, it's neither wrong or right is required in those situations. He felt that it was okay to attack me, you know what I mean, all the time, because I didn't reciprocate his, gestures. So, yeah, and he would just make up reasons to do it, you know what I mean, like, just because he hated that I wouldn't come hang out in his truck with him. And I was just like, I was getting my ass beat by this dude all the time. Like, he would attack me when I was asleep one time on the couch and accused me of faking, fake sleeping and stuff. And everybody that I lived with witnessed that, and finally got to the point where everybody else at the house was fucking tired of watching him do that to me, because I wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just attacking me, you know what I mean? I tried to get clean by going to, this was just solely to have a different environment to go into. I wasn't homeless at the time, but I didn't want to go back to where I lived, because it was the same situation there. You know what I mean? It was dope there, and it would be easy for me to relapse. And so in order for me to get my kittens back like I wanted to do, I needed to stay clean, and I needed to go to a place where I can stay clean. And so I called up one of the shelters up here in Victorville, and it was a domestic violence associated shelter, and I couldn't get accepted to. At first, I had arrangements to go, but then because of my name, they ran my name and everything. I had a domestic violence on my record from my ex that I was with, so they couldn't take me. So I ended up back at the place I was living, and at that before or in the middle of that incident, they euthanized my kittens anyways, and I just fell apart. So, you know, over the kittens. I couldn't believe I experienced that much pain over losing those kittens, you know what I mean? Because those were like everything to me. They were like the one thing that came along in my life that actually mattered. Because honestly, I don't think without them, I don't think I would have busted a grape for myself, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have given that much concern for myself, nor was I not used to the way everything already was, you know what I mean? I was just completely complacent with everything, and something about them needing help and them being sick and them
needing you.
Yeah, it made me come back to life, you know.
So let me ask you, are your parents still alive?
Yeah, my dad's still alive. My mom lives in Michigan. My dad's in Havasu. So I hate repeating all that to my dad every day, you know what I mean? That nothing's changed, that I'm still where I'm at. My dad's like, you know, why don't you come out here and da-da-da-da-da, but then he's like, but you can't live with me, and I'm like, well, what's the point of asking me to come out there if you're not willing to let me come home into the house, you know what I mean? So, you know, he's like, well, you're gonna have to do certain things first, you know, like go to program and stuff, and I'm like, you know, and I'm really hesitant to do that kind of stuff because there's, I don't think I'm ready for the. I haven't let go of the resentments that I'm holding, as far as where I really feel my mind's gonna take me if I decide that today I'm gonna be clean, but then I've got all these other things that are gonna pretty much follow me that I still have to work through. You know what I mean? That,
Gotcha.
you know, within I'm gonna have to still face myself and still go through, you know, am I over those things? Am I over the way I'm treating those things right now? And unfortunately, my addiction is how I've resolved the issues with thinking about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And it does suck because it's really not a solution. But at the same time, it's a pacifier. It kind of pacifies time and pacifies, you know, the reality.
Gotcha.
You know.
Do you have any kids?
No, I've never been pregnant. And I'm almost 40, and I've never been pregnant, not one time. And I'm actually surprised, you know what I mean? I've never been pregnant, so.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in like 5 years or 10 years, or do you have any plans for the future?
Oh, God. Well, I do have plans for the future. I do have plans, but, you know, the truth about how I'm living today and starting from where I'm at right now. You know, for dope addicts, homelessness just keeps the circle of self-obsession going. You know what I mean? Like, there's no place to start getting better. There's no, you know what I mean? Like, everything that you can get from your peers is pretty much, like I said, it's under conditioned and manipulated. Pretty much, it's not really an honest or pure, you know, avenue to actually get up from where you're at, you know? So it's just right back to the beginning. But I want to go to school for holistic veterinary medicine, because I learned how to treat my kittens. I saved them with at-home treatments because I didn't have money for veterinary service. And I found out a lot of stuff works at home, you know what I mean? And I would love to go to school to find out the rest, you know what I mean? Figure out how all that really does work, you know, and I don't want to be a veterinarian because I like grooming dogs more so, but I want to be able to be like a nonprofit service, you know what I mean, for people who don't have money, you know what I mean? Like, if they knew, there's so many people who do not know that they can do these things at home with their animals and it's 100% effective, instead of spending all this money or deeming their animal to death because they can't afford it, you know what I mean? Like, and that sucks, because that's really what their life teeters on, is a dollar bill, and people don't have it like that. So if I have this money, I can get my dog saved. If I don't, then I'm pretty much get no help. So I let my dog go.
Some places towards Orange County and stuff like that, they're making like little tiny homes and a little community for homeless people, like
that would
the
be
Central
awesome.
Bastion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to see what you thought about that. If you thought that would be helpful,
you know,
or
no, you know, I think I have a lot of ideas about this too, because I know code enforcement has been a big issue for the homeless people, and they wonder why the transients haven't gotten the heck out of their way. You know what I mean? It's because they take everything that they got to get up. You know what I mean? From where they're at. You know.
I noticed
You
them
accuse-
leaving trash everywhere, but taking your guys'
Oh,
belongings.
they do. They have. It's funny because like I really, I have a lot of respect for my community's authority. I really do. My community's council. I kind of like. I'm into politics myself. You know what I mean? Because I have insight into it that I believe is how the world goes around. You know what I mean? And these dynamics are exactly what needs to be in place in order for all these things to function. You know what I mean? It's very important actually. But when they start behaving disorderly in their job, it doesn't help the situation or the economy of what's really going on to function or flow. You know what I mean? Like
They're
you can't.
working together.
Yeah, you're destroying. They're pretty much defeating the purpose of what they're trying to administer, and you can't do that. Like, you don't facilitate any solution. You're gonna get no results. You know what I mean? And now Victorville and all them other places, they do have facilitation. Hesperia is probably one of the only places that I have so far witnessed that do not facilitate any transient fucking, excuse me, language, personal, resource through Hesperia is something that you probably wouldn't see as an option here in Hesperia. You'd have to go to Victorville or another outskirt city to find that help. Hesperia does not offer it at all. They're not, they don't view themselves as a, I understand their biggest fear is to cater to the transients here, okay? And that's what they, because they're kind of more of an upper class minded community, you know what I mean? They believe that their community is small, tight-knit, and healthy. And I believe that is too, on a certain level, you know what I mean, from the exterior. But if you really look in the inside, and it's not from the transients, that half of this stuff is actually in the fields or in the local, what would you call that? Like the rural areas, the local rural areas of Hesperia. The trash and all that stuff is for people who live in places, live in homes and stuff. They come and take a truck full of stuff and they dump it off in the middle of the fields. We come out there and scavenge all the stuff we can find.
Scavenge what you need to survive.
Right, and because it's free. But, when code enforcement comes, like we have little camps or wherever we're staying, and we need a place to be able to go to sleep at night and be able to wake up in the morning. I was dating a guy out here that he was working even though he was on the streets. It was only gradually getting so much better, but it was getting better, you know what I mean? And that was only because he could count on a place to go in the evening and had a place to wake up in the morning. That he had the things that he needed,
Some kind of
be able to
stability.
make a coffee over fire, you know what I mean? And get yourself at least somewhat normal, you know what I mean? In a normal state of mind with the rest of the world to be able to show face in a place, that is expecting of you, certain things like that. And, you need, those things are very important. In order to be able to function, you're going to have a retreat, period, at the end. You know what I mean? It's very important. And, I don't know, I don't know, where were we at with all that?
No, I was just saying, like, those little homes that they're offering.
Oh, yeah, those little homes are that's a really good idea, actually. Extremely good idea. Because that offers some stability in it's the foundation. That's the beginning source of foundation. And you will see, and I know this happens with almost everybody I've ever witnessed, have at least some stable ground to stand on. That's a little more consistent. Doesn't shift. You don't have to move from here to there to, keep migrating.
Always looking over your shoulder.
Right. You have to consistently migrate. Plus, other people, our peers, still are things from us and shit too. You know what I mean? So we have to worry about that. And yeah, code enforcement coming and taking all of our stuff and leaving behind nothing but the trash is definitely a factual thing. I would say is that's what they do. You know what I mean? And they're more at war with us than we are with them. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to war with them. They want to war with us. Because we know who's going to win. To them, we're like ants or cockroaches. You know what I mean? They come and they shoo us out, they take our stuff and then shoo us on our way. And I think it is really bad that they do it like that. You know what I mean? Like, they, need to, humble themselves a little bit and kind of understand,
humanity.
That,
you guys are human.
If they could see and accept, because I know sometimes their pride gets in the way of this because they're supposed to be somebody.
The badge or whatever.
Right. they sometimes refuse to recognize certain things that the homeless people do offer them, like the fact that we're the ones that clean the fields, not dirty them.
So would you agree that like those little homes would, how you're saying they'd be good, would you agree that that also would help with self-esteem
You will
and feeling
see-
better when you have
I
something?
can almost guarantee you, because I've seen this just in unpreordained, unpre-planned, premeditated situations, spontaneous situations where someone that I know personally has found, solid ground to reside in, like a camp or whatever. Yes, things progress from there, and it's a fact. You know what I mean? Once they find stability, then they can get themselves, because we don't like to be in the situation we're in either. We do sit there and regress the fact that we don't have what the next person has. And we know what it is that they have and what it takes to get those things, you know what I mean? But we just know how much further from those things we really are than the natural person is, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, it would, honestly, that little community, that would establish and stabilize so many people, and those real, they're internalized. Those realities for each one of those individuals that are homeless, they've internalized their situation to the point where it is a personal ambition of theirs on their own to get a better life, to get something going for themselves. So if you give them something to start out with, trust and believe their ambitions are going to prevail.
So one of the hashtags we use is hand up, not hand out.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to just be there living on the street taking stuff, but if someone help you get back up.
Right, it's a hand up, it's not a hand out. Exactly.
You'd be down with that.
Right,
down with
absolutely.
that help.
Yeah.
Okay, that
You
sounds
know.
funny. Now, I just want to ask you, like, how do people, whether it's like the regular citizens or the homeless or whatever, mainly the regular citizens, how do they treat you? How do people treat you when they see you? Or they recognize that you're homeless? How do they treat you?
I would say a percentage. I would give a percentage between.
You're a cute little girl. I don't know. Like, do they still?
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah, it's funny because every store I go into, they look at me like I'm gonna steal. I've even been kicked out of a store for doing nothing wrong. Barely. I mean, I'm ready to spend my only $2 I have. You know what I mean? Just to buy a soda or something, and I can't even go in there. And I'm like,
I've heard that if you look homeless, they're not allowed to sell
no,
to you.
they won't. They do treat you like you're a thief.
Follow you around.
Yep. And yeah, it's already embarrassing. You have to walk into stores without a shower and all this stuff, because I've had my days where, I've been rugged. But yeah, the people, the people, I don't know, I'd say 70-30. 70% of the community does not treat transients like they're of the same equality as them. That they're human beings. So like, they look down on us. They really do treat us like we're going to do something wrong, near them, or, like we're criminals, pretty much. And I've even had one guy, I went to an AM/PM off of 11th and Main Street. It was real late, it was raining, and I had trash bags over me because I was trying to keep dry. And I went into the AM/PM, it's that gas station that's right there on the corner. And it was just ridiculous. I had my bike, I had a 20-inch bike, and I came in and I bought a coffee and a donut with like the only couple bucks I had. I didn't steal from there. I didn't do anything wrong. I barely got out from the store's door, and I was right next to my bike, which was by the door, so it didn't get stolen. And I stayed right underneath the awning so that rain wasn't falling on me and my donut, you know what I mean? And I unwrapped my donut real quick while I was standing next to the trash can. And my bike was leaned up next to the trash can. And I was eating my donut and drinking my coffee. And I had barely finished my donut, and I was getting ready to wrap it up and throw it in the trash can next to me. And the manager comes out, and it's some tall guy with his Hispanic mixed guy with glasses, and starts literally like harassing me and telling me that I need to get out of there, and I need to hurry up. And I was like, excuse me, but I'm a paying customer, like, and as you can see, it's raining, and I just wanted to eat my donut and stuff outside of the rain for a second, you know what I mean? And he was like, well, you need to hurry up and get out of here now before I throw your bike into the field, right? Like, I was like, what the fuck did I do to deserve it? We hadn't even barely spoken yet, and he's already, like, threatening to, like, get rid of me, you know what I mean, off the property. And I was like, I said, you know what, go ahead and throw, I started getting angry. I was like, go ahead and throw my bike in the field. You know what I mean? If that makes you happy, you know what I mean? You go ahead. Because where I'm at right now, I'm not even going to chase you down if I can stop you. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, yeah, well, why don't I slash the tires on your bike? And I said, that's fine. I'll just call the cops. And he goes, well, that's fine. Go ahead and call the cops. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh, he must think that they're not going to do anything
You're
to
just
him.
homeless.
Because
Like,
exactly. I said, well, how about this? How about I slash your tires if you slash my tires? And then you'll have no choice but to call the cops. And he was like, oh, he thought about that for a second. He was like, okay, never mind. Now she's playing with fire. You know what I mean?
jerk.
Because at least now
There's no need for that.
there's two people's complaints and concern now when it comes to authorities coming out that they'll have to consider.
There's no call for treating someone like that.
You know, but yeah, I couldn't believe he threatened to pretty much dismantle my bike, my only way of transportation. So I was thinking I'd be walking home at this point with my flat tires, and this guy just was going to treat me like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to slash your tires. So that way you have to call the cops now, and they have to hear my side. And you have cameras.
What a jerk. So let me ask you on the other side of it then, how do you want people to see you? How do you want to be treated?
I don't expect the next person's perception to be in the most cognitive shape, to their best ability, clarity, but I would expect people to act, towards each other as common sense, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm not exhibiting any behavior towards another human being that is not threatening or harassing or even interfering, I would appreciate them not to, interfere or make gestures towards me in any type of way that might disturb me or my serenity as far as where I'm at, at that moment. Because we do get a lot of that. We get a lot of looks. We get a lot of, things that get said to us, in passing and shit like that. And it's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, and yeah. And it kind of sucks because, like, people expect you, because I'm still young and everything. And people sometimes think, well, why are you on the streets? You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, almost like I, people, they think that it's a choice. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a choice for me.
Like, you grew up and that's what you always
if
wanted
I had
to be.
my dad or family members here, that was more remotely easy for me to reintegrate myself with. I would probably be doing that already. But, yeah, no, they just think that, I'm loving this life or something, because obviously, like, I'm young and able enough to get a better life, but I'm not doing it, you know what I mean? So a lot of people don't want to help you because they think that, you're just juicing them for whatever, you know what I mean?
That's what I was going to ask you, too. Like, how do you get money to eat? What do you do?
Believe it or not, I can.
Recycle?
I recycle. And I'm actually blown away by the potential. I'm surprised not everybody's doing it. You know what I mean? Because I make, from one trash can, from one large dumpster, I pull like $15 out of it, and that's quite a bit of money on a daily, It buys my cigarettes, buys me breakfast or lunch, whatever time of day I'm cashing in, you know what I mean? Like, I get my little essentials that I need from that, you know what I mean? And I'm happy with that. Because of my addiction lifestyle, which is so funny because I know it seems so contrary to what would be expected. My peers in that lifestyle look down on me for that, which is so weird, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, whatever, you guys are a bunch of dope addicts judging me for jumping in a trash can. Because I don't know what you guys would rather do, sit around with no
Ask
money.
People.
And it's like, I don't like that. Like, I don't want to be with men for money. I don't want to support my drug habit by giving them what they're asking for. You know what I mean? I'd rather
Let
be
them have
homeless.
control.
I'd rather be homeless with my addiction or whatever not, at the same time without having to deal with that. You know what I mean? Because that's not cool. I mean,
and it does make a person feel better if they're actually working for
Yeah.
something. Have you seen some crazy stuff in the dumpsters?
no dead people, thank God, yet. But
I've heard a couple of those
I've heard stories, myself, horror stories. A personal friend of mine did recently, like this last year, found somebody, and I was just like, I hope every time I'm in a dumpster that is not what I find, because I'm not
It's
interested.
touching me.
I'm not interested in finding that. Like, it's just not my thing. And, but you know what, one of the most horrifying things, and I don't know if, because I'm getting exposure right now, is what I would like to put out there, because it really makes me angry that Hesperia thinks that they're just, I respect Hesperia, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in their community because I do see them differently than Victorville. I love their appeal, exterior appeal. I think it's beautiful. It is a beautiful, small, tight-knit community. I like that. that's why I kind of stuck around here, because I don't want to be up there with, like, you know, the
It seems scarier in
city
Victorville.
of Victorville, because it's a city life up there. Right here, it's like kind of like, you know, nook and cranny, and I like that, you know. But yeah, the dead animals in the fields. Just different types of things, you know, some sick and abandoned, some tormented and binded, some, you know, just left behind.
So you're an animal rights activist, I can
big
tell.
Big time. And
Something
the
important to you.
one of Hesperia's most infested fucking category would be dead animals. Why? You know what I mean? I just don't get that. Like, what the fuck is that about? You know what I mean? And I understand that there's certain cultural things going on and certain, you know, beliefs and religions and shit, like certain things like that. And like I said, I do have certain, you know, amount of respect for other cultural interests and beliefs. You know what I mean? But I mean, I've already, you know, and did my homework. It's just filthy and unhealthy.
there's no call
It's
for it.
disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, it's,
Especially something so helpless that depends on
yeah, you know.
It's at your mercy.
That, and it's just disgusting to me. Honestly, this is pathetic, disgusting, and terrifying, and like not terrifying actually, because I'm not scared. I'm angry. It kind of shit makes me angry. If I ever caught somebody doing something like that, dude, I'd fucking kill him. You know what I mean? I know I would. You know, but yeah, because it's just it's filthy. You can smell it. You know, it's like by the time you get close to it, you can smell it from miles away, and you realize that there's one here, and then a couple, you know, miles down, not miles, but a couple yards down the way, there's another animal binded and thrown in a bag. You know what I mean? Like, it just, and me, like, I'm the type of person that I am disgusted by it, you know, the fact that it's in a bag. So I open up the bag, you know what I mean? And at least either bury the animal or put the animal, if I don't have time, I put the animal on the dirt, so that way the earth can at least take back, you know what I mean, what it gave. So, you know what I mean? It's not festering in a bag. I think,
There's no call for anything like that.
no, there isn't.
I wanted to ask you, say, being homeless, what do you do when you're on your period? What do you do?
Oh, that's funny you ask. There have been days where I've literally just let it flow. Like, and, you know, it's odd, but our bodies have a strange sense that we don't have the time or the ability to. So I've actually found my periods kind of lighten their flow, but by God, you know, by the grace of God, thank God, you know what I mean, that somehow it just does that for me. Like, my flow will be different at that time because I do not have any protection, and my body kind of feels my worry about it, you know what I mean, so it kind of like goes light on me, you know. But yeah, you have to do without, roll up some toilet paper or whatever. And
Can you get in the bathrooms and things like that anymore with the COVID?
No, COVID, it really cut off that potential right there. COVID has definitely caused us to have to go and just figure it out, you know, go outside or do whatever we got to do in the dumpster. We have a dumpster, and I don't like having to use the dumpster to take bowel movements, because I'm like very, you know, I'm still very self-conscious about that, you know what I mean? Like, for a girl, we shouldn't have to do that outside, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be in the bathroom, you know, where it's private, but you don't have that option, so you have to do what you have to do, you know? Yeah.
So let me ask you, since you are an animal rights activist, do you see yourself wanting your own pet? I know you mentioned a cat the other day, because you might have people saying, "Oh, take this puppy, take this."
One major thing that I do not suggest when you're out here, especially if you're an addict, do not get an animal if you can't take care of it. Do not. If you care anything about that animal, you will respect that. You cannot have an animal.
Sounds solid advice to me.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say at the end? Are you comfortable talking about the scare you had?
Yeah, I was exposed to the HIV virus just recently, actually. Now, the funny thing is, there was a girl that was going around telling everybody that I had AIDS, and this was a rumor that was started a year ago. This has been a rumor long before I was even exposed to it. And that's what kind of bothered me about it, because here I am one day, I actually have the reality hit me with something honest, you know what I mean? They were saying that AIDS. Now, the reality of what really recently did occur was I wasn't exposed to AIDS, okay, and the prior rumor was I had AIDS. Completely false rumor, first of all. But what truly did happen just recently was I was just recently exposed to the HIV virus with somebody that did not tell me that they had it. And, you know, luckily, like I said, like when I was first told, I was not told by the person, I was told by somebody who was close to them and knew them very well. That informed me of that. And I remember I felt like all the heat come out of my body. I was just like,
That's what I was gonna ask. Do you collapse? What do you
Oh
feel when you hear
God,
that?
dude, I felt like my life was over. I felt like everything that I had just ignored about the rumor, you know what I mean? And never having to think like, yeah, whatever, you know what I mean? It's not true, so it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? But it just hit me like, well, now it's something I have to think about, like, really, and it was not welcoming. I was not welcoming to the idea at all. I did not want to even believe the person that told me, you know what I mean? I always wanted to believe it wasn't true. Luckily, the person, like I said, he was not transmittable, but I didn't find that out until after I was willing to speak to him, because I was so angry with the person, because I couldn't understand why somebody would not tell you, you know, why would someone not tell you? They could kill you, you know what I mean? They could, you know.
A lot of people are selfish.
Yeah, that was very, very selfish, very, very selfish, and but the funny thing is that, like I said, that's been a rumor long before the reality of me ever being exposed to it ever happened. Just by coincidence, I was recently exposed to it, and the person that actually exposed me to it could even testify to that. I was never exposed to it prior to that, but these girls have been out here saying that from day one since I've been out here. And I don't know what their deal is. So I don't know why they, my friend, I have a girlfriend that is HIV positive, but neither here nor there, because her and I are close. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is where the people started, assuming that I must be HIV positive too, or something like that. You know what I mean? And either way, it is not fucking cool to talk like that about anybody, dude. Especially if they ain't your business. Like,
right.
And if they do have AIDS, the less you should be speaking like that about them. You know what I mean? That's more reserved than not. You know what I mean? To be speaking on when it's not.
It's just not cool to put somebody else's business out there.
Especially if it's true. But these girls are saying that about me just because they wanted to sign her. I guess they wanted to sign her in my name or whatever. No, we don't always get along out here. You know what I mean? Like,
different personalities.
You know, half the bitches around here could give a fuck about your situation. You know what I mean? Some of them want to see you in a worse situation. Some of them want you to have AIDS. You know what I mean? Because that's why their mentality is unhealthy, and while they'll probably never end up anywhere else other than where they're at. You know what I mean? Because
yeah, it makes them feel better about themselves.
Right.
Somebody worse off than them.
Right. But yeah, no, I was exposed to it, and but I'm really to say that I don't have it. You know what I mean? And luckily the person was not transmittable, but I wouldn't have found that out unless I had gotten the courage to say something to him, because I didn't want to say anything but, bad things to him about it, because I was angry. You know what I mean? But then again, it was my fault in a way, of course, because I did not bother to use protection. I did not bother to fucking ask those questions myself, and nor did I let it become a worry at the moment that it was happening. You know what I mean? And that's your job to do that for yourself. You know what I mean? If you don't do that, then who else is going to do it for you? In that instance. So.
Yeah.
You
Good advice. All right, I think that'll be it for now.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for.
Well, how did I do? Did I seem
You
nervous?
did great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you talking to me.